The Secret of the Abandoned Mansion, Part 1, An Unexpected Visit. In one of the tranquil villages tucked away in the heart of the English countryside, Miss Marple sat in her garden, basking in the spring sunshine while engrossed in a book about botany. This peaceful moment was soon interrupted by the arrival of an unexpected package. It was a brown envelope, addressed in shaky handwriting to Miss Jane Marple, marked with utmost urgency. With a sense of caution, she opened it to discover a letter from someone named Sir Edward Cartwright, a well-known nobleman, inviting her to visit his old estate. In a remote village known as Greystone, the letter's contents were peculiar and disconcerting. Dear Madam, I find myself in urgent need of your assistance. There are strange occurrences at Greystone Manor, matters I cannot elucidate. You may possess the insight and intuition necessary to unveil the truth. I implore you to arrive at your earliest convenience, as lives may hang in the balance. Miss Marple, ever captivated by a compelling enigma, sensed an air of suspicion surrounding the situation. Why had Sir Edward omitted any specifics? And why had he chosen her, in particular? After a brief moment of contemplation, she resolved to accept the invitation. The following morning, she packed her bag and made her way to the train station. Upon her arrival in the village of Greystone, she was enveloped by an atmosphere of gloom and mystery. The villagers seemed distant, almost as if they shunned any mention of the manor. She boarded a horse-drawn carriage, driven by a taciturn young man named Tom, who skillfully maneuvered through the winding roads until they reached the mansion. The manor appeared deserted, despite its windows glowing with an unsettling light. Its aged structure and towering turrets lent it an imposing yet. Upon entering, she was met with a chilling sight, a pale-faced maid named Martha who guided her to a spacious sitting room where Sir Edward awaited. Sir Edward, an elderly man with white hair and a weary expression, began to explain the unsettling circumstances. I inherited this manor from my father years ago, but it has never been an ordinary place. The nights here are filled with strange noises, objects shift on their own, and staff members refuse to remain for long. The last 3 servants resigned abruptly, but things took a darker turn 2 weeks ago when my nephew Hugo disappeared without a trace. Miss Marple asked calmly, "Did anyone see Hugo before he vanished?" Sir Edward replied, "He was in the library. He told us he found something interesting, but he disappeared before explaining further." Sir Edward led Miss Marple to the library, where she immediately noticed something odd in the atmosphere. The scent of old books was mixed with a peculiar musty smell. On the table lay an old notebook, but one of its pages had been torn out. "This is the book Hugo was reading before he disappeared," Sir Edward explained. Miss Marple opened the notebook and began reading. It contained notes on the family's history, but it abruptly stopped when mentioning an old incident in 1853. Lydia Cartwright died under mysterious circumstances in the manor. It is said her spirit still haunts this place. Miss Marple noticed that the torn page was numbered 53, the same year Lydia had died. She wondered aloud, could Hugo have discovered something about this incident that night? As Miss Marple tried to sleep, she heard faint footsteps coming from the hallway. She decided to investigate, holding a. With the flickering candlelight, she exited her room, but a sensation of movement behind her made her turn. A shadowy figure darted past, igniting a thought in her mind. Someone is trying to conceal something. The following morning, Miss Marple commenced her investigation, only to be interrupted by an anonymous message left at the manor's door. Brief and penned in red ink, it warned, "Stay away from this place, or you'll be next." Part 2. The Secret of the Red Shadows. After receiving the chilling threat, Miss Marple sensed that the situation was escalating rapidly. Dangerous as it was, she was not the type to retreat when confronted with peril. With unwavering resolve, she chose to press on with her investigation, particularly after uncovering that someone was intent on hiding the truth about the events unfolding within the dark mansion. Miss Marple commenced her day by interrogating Sir Edward for further insights regarding Hugo's vanishing. Sir Edward, his voice quaking, recounted that Hugo was an inquisitive young man who had confided in him mere days before his disappearance, expressing his belief that the manor concealed something significant. He had devoted time to exploring its mysteries. Hours spent in the library poring over genealogy books and family documents. Miss Marple inquired, "Do you know what he was referring to?" All I could say was that he mentioned a secret tunnel in the manor, but I found it hard to believe. This mansion is so old, and much of it remains a mystery, even to me. Determined, Miss Marple decided to return to the library to search for clues about the tunnel. While examining the old shelves, she stumbled upon an ancient map of the manor. It was tattered, but with her magnifying glass, she discerned strange markings that hinted at a hidden passage. In the dim light of the basement, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she whispered to herself, contemplating the tunnel that could hold the answers to Hugo's fate. Miss Marple resolved to explore further, enlisting the aid of the maid, Martha, who, though apprehensive, consented to join her. The air was heavy with moisture and trepidation. The old wooden doors creaked ominously, and their flickering lanterns cast ghostly shadows along the eerie corridors. As they searched, Miss Marple's keen eye caught sight of a hidden door concealed behind a forsaken shelf, its surface cloaked in dust and mystery. Dust settled in the air, hinting at recent activity. She cautiously pushed the door open, revealing a long tunnel that extended beneath the manor. Hugo was here, Miss Marple declared with certainty. Inside the tunnel, she stumbled upon unsettling clues: a broken flashlight, a torn piece of paper bearing the ominous words, "The truth is buried here," and a strip of cloth stained with blood. This compelling evidence suggested that Hugo had been on the verge of uncovering something perilous, and perhaps he had met with an attack. As Miss Marple scrutinized the scene, the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance. She swiftly turned around, but found no one there. Determined, she made her way back to the manor to examine the evidence. On her journey, another surprise awaited her. The secret door had been closed behind her. Whispers began to echo from the darkness. Martha, who was trailing behind, let out a scream, exclaiming that someone was watching them. "Madam, we must get out now." Miss Marple maintained her composure, reassuring her, "Don't worry, we'll find a way out. The shadows are merely a trick to frighten us." After several minutes of searching, she discovered another passage led back to the manor, but upon her arrival, a new shock awaited her. Entering the main hall, she found Sir Edward standing in disbelief, clutching a letter penned in Hugo's handwriting. "Uncle, the truth is more dangerous than you can imagine. Trust no one. I will be in the secret room tonight. Make sure you are alone." But how could the letter be from Hugo if he was missing? Was he alive, or was someone attempting to lure Sir Edward into a trap? Miss Marple sensed that the situation was becoming even more complicated. Miss Marple stood behind a heavy curtain in the hallway leading to the secret room, watching Sir Edward enter the room alone as instructed by the mysterious letter. The manor was wrapped in silence, with only the sound of Sir Edward's footsteps echoing as he approached. The room was small, filled with old boxes and scattered papers. On the wall hung an old portrait of a woman with a. Her enigmatic gaze seemed to follow each newcomer as Sir Edward sifted through the boxes and papers. Eventually, he stumbled upon an aged notebook labeled "Secrets of the Cartwright Family." As he flipped through its pages, he uncovered unsettling details about the family's past, particularly the puzzling disappearances of its members throughout the years. Notably, a woman named Lydia Cartwright was highlighted, having mysteriously vanished over a century ago. Miss Marple, quietly observing from her vantage point, took in every moment. Afar observed the troubled look on Sir Edward's face, as if he were starting to piece together the connections between what had happened before and what was unfolding now. While Sir Edward perused the notebook, the sound of footsteps drew closer from outside the room. He turned anxiously to see a young man stepping inside, a face that sparked recognition. It was Hugo. "Hugo," Sir Edward exclaimed. "Where have you been? Why did you vanish?" Hugo appeared weary yet resolute. "Uncle, I've been on a quest for the truth. There are secrets in this manor that no one wishes to uncover. It was revealed that I was on the verge of uncovering the truth, but threats forced me into hiding." Hugo began to share his findings, explaining that this place conceals a secret underground tunnel tied to the family's history. Lydia Cartwright, rumored to have vanished, didn't truly disappear. She possessed knowledge about the family's properties and held documents affirming her claims, but those documents inexplicably disappeared along with her. Miss Marple inquired, "And what did you discover in the tunnel?" Hugo responded, "I found ancient documents indicating the existence of another concealed chamber beneath the ground. It appears to be the very spot where Lydia concealed all her secrets. Yet, I found myself unable to enter, for I was discovered just as Hugo spoke. The door to that room swung open once more, revealing Martha, the devoted maid, her expression grave. She cautioned, "There are matters that ought to remain buried, Master Hugo. It's best to let the past lie." Miss Marple, ever perceptive, sensed Martha's unease and inquired, "What is it that you fear about our investigation? Do you possess any knowledge regarding the missing documents, or Lydia?" She paused for a moment, then finally admitted, "I've heard tales from my grandmother about Lydia. She always warned that this place is cursed for those who seek to unveil its mysteries. Please, don't put yourselves in danger." Before Miss Marple could reply, one of the servants entered, holding a small note that he set down on the table. The note bore a message in an unfamiliar script. "If you seek the truth, go to the library at midnight." Confusion and fear flickered across everyone's faces, yet Miss Marple resolved to continue. This perilous quest to reveal the truth, Part 4. A clandestine gathering in the library. As the clock struck midnight, the manor was shrouded in silence. The wind rattled the trees outside, while the soft rustle of aged papers reverberated through the walls. Miss Marple made her way to the library, accompanied by Martha and Hugo, with Sir Edward following them, albeit with reluctance. Inside the library, the air was heavy with intrigue. The dim glow from the lamps cast an ambience reminiscent of a stage poised for remarkable happenings, and anticipation hung in the air. Something unusual awaited them as they entered the library. Miss Merrill noticed a bookshelf that seemed slightly misaligned. She approached it and began pulling out books one by one until she found one that was stuck. When she pulled it, the entire shelf shifted, revealing a secret door leading to a small room. The room was filled with sealed boxes and scattered papers. On the table lay a small wooden chest adorned with golden carvings. Sir Edward cautiously opened it and discovered an ancient notebook along with a sealed letter. With trembling hands, Sir Edward opened the letter and began to read aloud. "To whoever finds this letter, know that I was the victim of a conspiracy, but I did not surrender. Within this notebook, you will uncover the truth about the Cartwright family's estate and the hidden treasure. I was not guilty, yet they made me appear so. If you seek justice, follow the clues I have left behind." Hugo, brimming with excitement, snatched the notebook and eagerly flipped through its pages, which were filled with notes and sketches detailing concealed chambers and ultimately a map leading to a particular spot in the Manor's garden. The following morning, they ventured into the garden, which appeared aged and uncared for. According to the map, an ancient well was situated in the corner of the garden. Upon reaching the location, they discovered the well obscured by stones and dirt, as if someone had made an effort to conceal it indefinitely. They set to work removing the stones, and once the well was revealed, they found a small metal box nestled within a narrow opening. Hugo gingerly lifted the box, and as the box was opened, the surprise unfolded. It held not gold or jewelry, but legal documents affirming Lydia's rightful claim to the manor and the family's estate. These documents were adorned with official signatures and seals, validating that she had been wronged and conspired against by her own kin. She had sought to safeguard this secret, but it cost her dearly, Miss Merrill lamented as they scrutinized the papers. Then, Miss Merrill's attention was drawn to an unusual detail. A signature on one of the documents belonged to Sir Edward's grandfather. This revelation suggested that the family had been aware of the truth all along, yet they concealed it to protect their legacy. Sir Edward, appearing as though he had shattered within, spoke in a quivering tone, "My family made a grave mistake, and now we must rectify it." Upon uncovering the documents, the family resolved to hand them over to the authorities to restore justice. As for Miss Marple, she exited the manor with a serene smile, content that she had played a role in unraveling the mystery and rectifying the injustice. However, as she left, she discovered a small note in her bag, penned in an unfamiliar hand. "Thank you for what you've done, but the manor still conceals mysteries." Secrets Part 5, The Final Revelation. Back in her room in the quaint village, Miss Merrill sat by the window, contemplating the enigmatic note she had discovered in her bag. The manor still hides more secrets. she sensed that something was amiss in the narrative. The documents they had unearthed had restored justice to Lydia, but who had penned the last note, and why? The manor left an unsettling feeling in her heart. Resolute, she decided to return to the manor to unveil the ultimate truth the following morning. Miss Marple returned to the manor, greeted with surprise by Sir Edward and Hugo. "What brings you back? Have you forgotten something?" asked Sir Edward. Miss Marple replied confidently, "There is something that hasn't been revealed yet. The manor still has more to say, and I believe the key lies in the last note that was placed in my bag." Hugo suggested they search the parts of the manor they hadn't explored, especially the upper floor, which had been sealed off for years due to collapsed walls. Hugo led them to the upper floor where the walls bore cracks and the furniture lay shrouded in dust, the air thick with an unspoken weight, as if the manor was safeguarding its mysteries in this neglected space. While exploring the rooms, Miss Merrill's gaze fell upon a painting adorning the wall, a portrait of a woman in a red dress. "This is Lydia, isn't it?" she inquired. Hugo nodded, responding, "Yes, that's her. My father used to say this was her favorite painting." However, Miss Merrill observed that the painting was mounted in an unusual manner. When she pressed on its frame, a section of the wall behind it unexpectedly swung open, revealing a narrow passage. A passageway led to a concealed chamber where everyone gathered, discovering a small wooden chest resting on a table at its heart. Beside the chest lay a modest notebook filled with Lydia's handwritten notes. Sir Edward commenced reading aloud. "If you have stumbled upon this room, it signifies that the truth has emerged. Within this chest, you will uncover keys to other family properties. However, I caution you, this is not an inheritance, it is a curse. Members of this family have taken advantage of others' wealth and wielded their power for unjust gains. These secrets must be buried with me, Mississippi." People asked, but why did she call it a curse? Is there something more dangerous than this? When they opened the chest, they found a detailed map of the family's properties and a collection of contracts and documents that proved generations of the Cartwright family had exploited the villagers and stolen their lands. Sir Edward stood in silence, as if his entire world had collapsed around him. "My family did all this. This manor was built on the suffering of others." Miss Apple, with her usual wisdom, said, "The question now, what will you do with this truth? Will you continue to hide it, or will you begin to make things right?" Sir Edward and Hugo chose to reveal everything to the authorities and compensate the villagers for all they had lost. The secret room was sealed forever, but the manor was transformed. It became a symbol of truth and justice rather than a vault for secrets. Miss Marple left the manor with a small smile on her face, saying to herself, "There's no place in the world without secrets, but the truth always finds its way to the light." Upon her return home, she discovered another note awaiting her. "Thank you. You have restored my dignity." The signature was simply Lydia, and thus, the tale of the abandoned manor reaches its conclusion, its secrets finally revealed. Yet who can say? Perhaps Miss Marple's next escapade will unveil even more captivating enigmas.